Hello, friends of UCI MIND. It's day 2 of the Alzheimer's Association International Conference in London, England. And I'm here with Dr. Wu, who's a behavioral neurologist at UC Irvine Health, as well as a clinical professor of neurology. And he's going to tell us some more about his poster presentation and the research that he's been doing.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Wu. I just moved to UCI 2 years ago. I'm happy to join the group. There is a great tradition of research in Alzheimer's disease, and I have been doing Alzheimer's disease research for almost 20 years. I have a PhD in behavioral neuroscience from Boston University and study aging Alzheimer's disease and coronary system. And then I was doing research at UCSD, actually mentored by Leon Thaw, who is the legendary Alzheimer's disease leaders of the field. After that, I actually climbed my academic ranks by traveling to different medical schools. Actually, 4 of them. First went to Brown University as an assistant professor, and then moved to Northwestern, working for Dr. Messon, running a clinical core for Alzheimer's Disease Center as an assistant professor, and then I moved to Texas Tech as an associate professor to take the endowment professor in Alzheimer's disease for more than 5 years before I moved here. So my research used to be in more cholinergic systems and clinical trials. Right now I'm more focus on clinical trials to find new drug treatment for Alzheimer's disease. So when I was hired for UCI, I primarily worked to see patients, to see how to provide the care, to give them diagnosis, and to recommend proper treatment, to counseling for the care. I actually see them from the diagnosis until the end, counseling for the end-of-life care. So in my clinics, I have many interesting patients referred to me from the counties, not just Orange County, but LA counties, San Diego counties, Riverside counties, and San Bernardino counties. In my 2 years here, my clinics kind of come from a lot of different places, so I'm happy to see them. So this poster I kind of presented in a very interesting a topic called the posterior cortical atrophy, which is actually a common syndromes, but very easily neglected by clinicians who are not familiar with the behavioral syndromes. And this is actually more familiar, it's actually well known by behavior neurologists like me. But for a general neurologist or the not a behavior neurologist, they kind of a little more difficult to recognize this. And this syndrome actually is one of the presentations of Alzheimer's disease as more well characterized by pathology in the recent 10 years. I found that after I came to UCI, I was often see these patients referred to my clinics because these patients, they have interesting behavioral change. They actually literally presented with blindness, but they're not aware they're blind. So this is the interesting part of the presentation of this disease, clinically called posterior cortical atrophy, but pathologically is caused by Alzheimer's disease. And with the new diagnostic tools, such as amyloid PET scan, which actually help us to recognize Alzheimer's disease pathology in patients with posterior cortical atrophy much easier and with more confidence to present it to a patient. So these patients actually, they create a lot of difficulties for the caregiver to take care of them. And because they are not aware they're blind, but and they feel that they can do a lot of things, they can still do well, so make them very vulnerable into injury to themselves, or such as forget turning off the ovens, or pulling the hot waters or coffee spilled out of the glasses or cups. So the family members actually very. This has actually increased the caregiver burden. And these patients actually, they're very innocent sometimes, and then when they are being told they are not able to do such and such particular test they used to do well, they are very frustrated, they are very anxious, and sometimes create conflicts and arguments with the caregivers. And particularly in the later stage, some of these patients also present with visual hallucinations. The brain actually create images to compensate for their loss. And that's actually even created more problems. So recently I have a patient that actually went to a nursing home, and the nursing home was not able to handle his hallucinations, so they have to force the family member to send him to the geriatric psychiatry care. But these patients, once they go to geriatric psychiatric care, they are not actually do well because they don't respond to the psychiatric treatment. Actually, in fact, there's no treatment can help with their visual problems. So all the medicines primarily is actually just sedate them, and they actually decline more faster when they are given the antipsychotic treatment. So at that point, they usually decline very fast. So that creates anxiety for the caregivers. So that's actually a very interesting clinical scenario. And then the other sad part of these kind of patients is they are not actually fit in clinical trials, because these patients actually, before they lose their vision, they actually can do well on the testing. At that time, they're not been diagnosed correctly. By the time they can be diagnosed correctly, they actually did very poorly on their cognitive scales or psychometric scales. So they are not actually usually not recruited for clinical trials. So these patients actually will be usually kind of left behind by several special clinics, and what usually did not follow by the clinical trials centers or research centers. So this is actually a unique presentation. Alzheimer's disease make the patient, they become left out from the research and from the most information available for Alzheimer's disease.
What's your hope?
I hope that because the Alzheimer's disease treatments hopefully going to get breakthrough soon in the future 2 or 3 years. I'm hopeful that amyloid treatments, if we have a breakthrough, these are the patients we should apply for the treatment sooner. And I hope that will apply to these patients soon enough. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.